Hello everyone, Tom with Capo Fetish. Let's talk about some weak follow-up albums, succeeding a stone cold classic. So normally these kind of albums I would have purged, I've purged many over the years, but I still have a few. So I'm going to offer up a handful today in this video. I'm going to start off here with an album from 1967. And this album is called Little Games by the Yardbirds. Now for years, I kind of held off on purchasing this album, and maybe I should have listened to it first online. But I was at Amoeba, and it wasn't that costly, so I thought I'll pull the trigger, but not a great album. Very weak, coming off of Roger the Engineer here from '66. This is like just one of the great albums of '66, like a garage psych classic. Just every song, fabulous, great playing, pretty good production, but this one here, I don't know, even though it features Jimmy Page, I think what suffers with this album is just the song quality. It's just like even the lead-up track, Little Games, it just sounds so lightweight. It sounds like they were just taking a back seat in like the lighter like pop vein here. So I tried a few times to get into it. I will keep it. I know there's some cool parts here and there from Page on certain tracks, but just nothing really sticks with me on this album. So I consider it weak, but again, this is a subjective video. Don't take my word for it. Another one from 1985. X's Ain't Love Grand. This one was a shocker to me when it came out. It's not that it's horrible. It's played well, but it's just not the X sound. It doesn't have that X aesthetic to it. I mean, coming off the heels of their fourth excellent classic album here, More Fun in the New World. This is like their last greatest album here. Just near perfect. But you could tell the Elektra execs were probably having a problem. They released 2 albums on Elektra. And though they appealed to the underground, the alt crowd, they didn't really appeal to the mainstream, but that's not what X was about. So right here, they are right off the bat trying to appeal to more of a mainstream crowd with a more of a mainstream style. Burning House of Love got a little airplay on MTV and on I think even on KLOS here in LA, but it's just not X. You could tell they were forced into this. You could tell the passion's just not there like previous albums. Now they would go on and do more rootsy stuff like See How We Are after this, but yeah, I think this was Elektra's way of just saying we need a hit, and it wasn't a hit, but they did have a hit with Wild Thing, so I think that was released around this period. But anyway, yeah, I think just a weak follow-up to a great album, More Fun in the New World from X. Now this album, I find it really, really bizarre and weak, especially coming off the heels of what many consider one of the greatest albums of all time. Now I understand why it's weak, because the leader basically just, pretty much shut his previous project down and said, I'm done. And what were the boys supposed to do? I'm talking about the Beach Boys. Smiley Smile. Man, it couldn't be any more of a 180 shift from Pet Sounds. And I mean, they pad it with Heroes and Villains and Good Vibrations. Those are the singles. But the rest, man, wow. Just, I wanted to hear it again. And so I heard it like about a year ago for the first time in ages. And I just still have not changed my mind. This is a weak record for me. And even some of these songs they remake from the Smile sessions are just terrible. The version of Wonderful is almost like sabotaging the song, even though Carl's singing it, the way he's singing it and the arrangement, far cry from the original with the harpsichord. And just some of these songs, She's Going Bald, Little Pad, Vegetables, I don't know. Just doesn't really stick with me. But, there's been this reappraisal with this album, and a lot of people are digging this album. They call it one of the first kind of like lo-fi bedroom albums, which I agree, but the material is just not there for me. So another one I'm offering up here today on Capo Fetish, Smiley Smile, coming off the heels of Pet Sounds from '66. I think with each album after Smiley Smile, it would get better and better. Wild Honey, and then Friends is better, and then 2020. And then once they signed to Warner Brothers with their Brothers imprint, I think that's when they started cranking out some of their best music, at least best albums, from Sunflower through Surf's Up, Carl and the Passions, and Holland. So anyway, I think one of their worst efforts here. Smiley Smile from '67. Here's an album I was really, really disappointed by. I went through a period where, I don't know, maybe, what was it? Maybe good 10 years ago. About 10 years ago, or a little less, I was listening to this album by Fleet Foxes, Helplessness Blues, right? Picked it just up on a whim. I bought their first album and I played it a few times, and even though I liked it, it didn't really like register with me. But then I heard this album, absolutely blew me away. I couldn't stop listening to it for months. Kind of Beach Boys, kind of folk rock. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of things going on here. Baroque influences, a lot of Brian Wilson influence going on in here. But man, I just think this album is just an absolute masterpiece from 2011. And then I started getting into the first album, just called Fleet Foxes, and loved that album, and then bought the EP. I forgot what the name of that is. But so I was really, really, really into this band and look forward to the follow-up to this. And what a disappointment for me with Crack Up from 2017. He basically, Robin Pecknold, incredible guy, just incredible arranger, songwriter, love his voice and everything. But he went full on like cut and paste for this album, like a la Brian Wilson's Smile Sessions, to the point where you can't grasp on anything. It's just, it's completely jarring. Every tune is jarring for the most part. It's like it goes along, and then it goes into another part, jars, completely just all over the place. And I tried to get into it. And the irony is that I saw these guys like 3 times on this tour. So I saw them kind of late in their career. I should have saw them like, an album before or 2 albums before, So I had to sit through this material. There'd be like a couple of great songs off the first or second album. Then I have to sit through a couple of these. So even the concert was jarring at times. But yeah, this is just a weak follow-up for me. It just never registered. And that is Fleet Foxes, the Crack Up album from 2017, coming off the heels of this masterpiece, Helplessness Blues. If you've never heard this album, check it out. And then check out their debut, just called Fleet Foxes, both just 5-star albums. Another one too, and I think a lot of people agree with me. I mean, this is like pretty amazing coming from like a major star. But I think Lennon was kind of running out of steam during this period with all his political his political things happening. And it's a double album. And coming off Imagine, I think Imagine and Plastic Ono Band are like his best albums. Pretty flawless all the way through. So this coming after Imagine, there's just not a lot in the way of good songwriting on here. John Sinclair is cool. New York City, Luck of the Irish. I mean, there's a few that register with me, but for the most part, I just think it's some of Lennon's worst writing. And then you have the jam with Frank Zappa on the second disc. So it's just a very, very underwhelming album. Heavy on the sloganeering and all that stuff, but not a lot of depth. I think the next album would have been Mind Games. That I think kind of was a slight return to form, and then Walls and Bridges. But coming from like somebody like Lennon is, for me as a huge fan, just not a great one. So sometime in New York City in 1972. Another one too is this band had just a run of great albums from like 67 to about 74. I mean, all just really like 4- and 5-star albums. But by the time this album came out, I think they were kind of running out of gas as well. And that is Procol Harum's 9th. And this was coming off the heels of Exotic Birds and Fruit, which I think is just a late career masterpiece. If you're talking about the initial Procol Harum timeline from 67 to 77 before the reunions, this is a real just late career masterpiece from start to finish. And maybe they just kind of petered out, musically with this album. So Procol's 9th is this kind of it's not like horrible, but it's compared to all the albums that preceded it, is very weak. I like Pandora's Box. Fool's Gold's pretty good. Unquiet Zone, and their version of 8 Days a Week is kind of subpar, but they put out a lot of great material before this, so you got to cut them some slack. But yeah, just kind of a weak follow-up from me from Exotic Birds and Fruit. But most importantly, I want to know what you would put in this list. Weak follow-up albums succeeding a Stone Cold classic. Now, there are a ton. And I don't have a lot of these albums, I said, in my collection. I purged these. So I wanted you to just let loose in the comments and name these albums. I'm really, really curious what you put in the list. So Thanks for watching. And if you dig the content across the channel, press subscribe. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.